When we build systems, we often collaborate and agree over architecture, and then we build the system according to the architectural diagram. And that's mostly a delusion to make architects feel important, because the architecture is actually in the code of the system itself. So the real architecture is the person writing the code. The diagram is just a belief. Secondly, software engineering itself is a decision-making process. If you now consider when we use AI, there's two different basic forms. There's the idea of using AI as an assistant, where we do software engineering, and then there's what we call vibe coding, or I like to call vibe wrangling. That's the thing you have to remember with prompts. They're not rules, they're not commands, they're not instructions, they're wishes. I wish you to do this, yeah? And the machine will statistically interpret what that means. And what it may do may not be what you're expecting. But that is the world you're in, the world in vibe coding, which is why you wrangle the system. And the most important thing to remember about that world is the machine is making all the decisions. You're not. There is no human decision making in the process. You're not architecting it. So then we get to the point where we go, well, hang on a minute. I do need to understand what this thing actually does. I can't just hand over my decision making to a machine and be completely ignorant and have no understanding. So at some point, you have to dive in and look at the code. And at that point, you're crossing that boundary. Now humans are involved in the decision making. And this is where we're in the world of software engineering. We're in the world of understanding the environment, where the tools actually matter. Now here in this world, AI is still useful as an assistant though. Now that doesn't mean AI assistants aren't useful. They are, but you still need somebody to read the code. Now there are ways and mechanisms which we will develop over time for building things like judgment systems, using AIs to check the work of AIs, which will help us build more confidence, more trust. But every time we don't get into the code, whether we like it or not, we are handing over decision-making to the AI. So the big architectural question that you have to really ask yourself is, because architecture is basically an expression of values, what's important to us? And that's the big architectural question of today, and probably not what most people are thinking about. I'm afraid too many are still drawing lovely pictures